Welcome to session 1 of the Myofascial release course. This particular sequence, we're going to look at some work to release tension in the feet and the lower legs, particularly the calves and the shins. So for this practice, you will need a couple of myofascial balls. You'll need a couple of yoga blocks and a foam roller as well. And if you don't have a foam roller, I'll give you some options instead using the myofascial balls. So we're going to start with the feet, and for this one you'll just need one myofascial ball, so you can take them out of their tote bag and come to stand. But in a standing position, you're going to take the ball underneath one of your feet. I'm going to come in a little closer to the camera for this part so you can see a little more clearly. And just begin by putting the ball right underneath the center of the foot, right into the arch. And we're going to just start to lean into the ball and just let your foot sort of drape. Allow your foot to absorb the pressure and the contact of the ball. And you just want to apply enough pressure for it to feel meaningful and productive, but obviously not so much that it feels super tender. Just holding that for a few seconds longer. You might feel a bit of a stretch across the top of the foot. And then we'll continue to put some pressure through that. And I'm going to just start to now roll the ankle and the foot from side to side. So I'm just letting the ball follow the transverse arch of the foot here, which is the arch that goes from the big toe to the little toe. And you can see I'm letting my ankle also roll in and roll out. So I'm working a little bit on my ankle mobility. Great, and then from there, pause, and let's do the same thing, but we'll just roll the ball up a little bit higher, more kind of underneath the ball of the foot, just below the toes. And same thing, apply some downward pressure and start to roll the ball from side to side this way. Again, letting the ankle roll. And then we'll do one more spot like this movement, but this time I'm going to put the ball right underneath the front of the heel. And again, toes on the ground, and we'll just wiggle the heel from side to side. Now from here, I'm going to roll the ball lengthways down the foot and just trying to cover as much surface area of the foot as you can there. Again, I'm going for fairly firm pressure here and keeping my body weight over the ball so I can control the ball a little bit more easily. Now from here, I'm going to pull back and just start to pop the toes, and I'll start with the big toe and maybe the second toe will come along here, and I'm just going to sort of prop it over the edge of the ball. So you can see here my heel, the ball of the foot, the toe mound there is on the ground. And that might be plenty. If you feel like you could take a little more of a stretch, you can pick the heel up. Holding that for a few seconds. And then let's do the 3 middle toes. So 3 middle toes right up over the edge of the ball. Again, I've got the toe knuckles on the ground. And then again, if you want a little bit more of a stretch under the toes, you can pick the heel up. And relax. And then we'll do one more on the little toe here. And again, I'm going to sort of pick the heel up just to stretch underneath the toe. It's really important that we maintain the mobility of the toes, particularly for walking the gait. Great, and then relax and release. And we'll do exactly the same sequence on the second side. So starting with the ball right underneath the middle of the foot, And I'm just going to start to lean in and let the foot drape over the edge of the ball. So the foot sort of receives the spherical shape of the myofascial ball here. And I can feel a nice sort of stretch right across the top of the foot as well. Holding that just for a few more seconds. And again, just finding a level of compression that you can comfortably tolerate. And then you might back off just a little bit here. And I'm going to keep the ball in that position, but I'm now just going to roll from side to side. Rolling and letting my ankle also roll with the movement. Working on some ankle mobility here. And then we'll move the ball up just a little bit higher again, just below the toes. Same thing, let the foot sort of drape over the ball. And again, cross fiber here. So we're sort of going against the grain of the tissues. Letting the foot mold and adapt to the shape and surface of the ball. And then moving the ball down just above the heel, same idea. And pushing down through the foot and sliding the ball from side to side this way. This works into the tendinous attachment of the plantar fascia tendon right in the sole of the foot. And then we're going to start to slide the ball down from the toes to the heel and then back up again. I'm trying to apply more of a downward pressure from the toes to the heel. This is the direction that the lymph flows. Takes a little getting used to the technique. Nice firm pressure and just trying to cover as much of the foot as I can here, the inner out and outer arches in particular. Often some good spots in there. And then I'll go for some toe stretching here. So bringing the big toe right up onto the ball. And again, you can see the base knuckle is down on the ground. And again, if your big toes are stiff, this might be more than enough. Don't force anything. But if you would like to increase the intensity, you just pick the heel up and bend the knee. And then relax, and let's go for the 3 middle toes. Same idea. Pick my heel up here just to increase the stretch. And then the little toe. 4th toe coming along for the ride with this one. Great. And then gently releasing. Now, the next technique, we're going to work with the foam roller, and we're going to work into the shins and into a muscle called the tibialis anterior, which is a muscle that kind of sneaks out just behind the tibia here on the sort of more lateral or outer portion of the shin. So for this technique, I like to use a foam roller, but you can definitely do this with the myofascial balls as well. So I'll just show you both and you can decide. So for your foam roller, if you have one, you're going to come into tabletop position, and the foam roller will come just below the knee. You can use your hands, fists, fingers, palms to support you in whatever way is comfortable here. And you lean a bit to the side. So I'm trying to get a little bit more to the outer edge of the shin. And then very slowly, I'm going to pressure wave down the shin towards the outer ankle. Taking my time just to kind of work through that and taking a few strokes. If you're working with myofascial balls instead, the option here is to take 2 yoga blocks or maybe a stack of books and pop the balls onto the blocks. And exactly the same idea, you sort of lean a little bit to the side and start to roll down. And Obviously, with this one, you may need to sort of just adjust the balls as you go. This particular technique, I think, is a little bit more intense with the myofascial balls. So if you wanted something a little more intense, this might be your preferred choice. In fact, it's feeling pretty good for me today, so I'm going to continue to work with this. You could certainly pause the video and spend longer on any of these techniques, just looking for any tender spots. And then if you find a tender spot, you might just pause there and you could flex, point the ankle, or you could do little circles. Finding feels helpful there. And then I'm going to work up right up to the top of the ankle for this next one, right up sort of just where the foot really meets the lower leg. And I'm just going to lean into this and sort of pivot and sway the hips from side to side. Again, you could do this with the foam roller instead, if you prefer. And again, you can find a little bit of movement of the ankle. This is a great one for freeing up the retinaculum of the front of the ankle. If you know that your ankles are a little stiffer, this is something I like to do to warm up for things like squats. My ankles are a little bit on the tighter side. And then gently release. Let's go to the other side. So again, working with the foam roller, or if you like, with your myofascial balls. And leaning a little bit to the side. So we're getting more the side of the tibia, the bone, the lower leg here. Just playing a little bit with the position of the balls. Work my way down. This is the advantage of working with the foam roller. It's a little less finicky, but as I say, the balls are a little more intense. Finding the tool for the day, depending on how it's feeling for you. Once you've kind of traveled down the length, find a spot that you want to sort of just maybe work on a little bit more. For me, it's in the sort of lower part. And again, you can also just find a bit of movement. You can see there with my upper leg in the way, but a little bit of movement through the foot, circling, pointing and flexing. And I'm now going to move the ball right down, just turn so you can see a little more clearly, right into the top of the ankle where the foot meets the lower leg. This one I usually find the balls need to sort of be right on the edge of the block there. I'm going to lean in and then just do a sort of little pivot of my hips from side to side. And then if you find a good spot, moving the foot around, just trying to free up the front of the ankle there. Great. Okay, we're going to come to the sides of the shins next. And for this one, I like to work just with the one ball. So again, you can take one out of the tote bag. And we're going to work on these muscles down the sides of the leg, the perineals. And I want to find the side of the knee and the bone, the side of the knee there. And then just kind of behind, or so just below that and behind the tibia, is a sort of nice little sort of soft, fleshy kind of ridge. And I'm just going to come into sitting here. And you can do whatever you like with the other leg. Come into a comfortable seated position. I just want to be able to tip some weight and load into the leg that I'm working on. And then I'm using my hand to just lightly sort of nudge the ball from the bone sort of back towards the sort of soft flesh of the, almost towards the edge of the calf here. Using my hand to apply a bit of pressure, which may or may not be necessary for you, so just depending on how tender this is. And I'm just going to work my way down the side of the lower leg. So just show you, keep going. I'm just kind of doing sort of this action. It's a small movement, just of trying to almost like prise the connective tissue, soft tissue here off the bone. Not in a literal way, of course. Just trying to free up these interfascial connections. It's often where a lot of sort of stress and tension can be stored. I'm just working my way down side of the lower leg. And eventually you'll get towards the outer ankle. And sort of just above the sort of sticking out bone here of the outer ankle. This is called the lateral malleolus. And I'm just going to go in just kind of above that point. And then I'm just going to sort of lightly kind of move and circle and just kind of worry the ball around that ankle bone. This one, I'm just using my hand to sort of guide me a little bit. I'm just looking for any sort of sore spots around the sort of above the bone and just behind the bone. Working a little bit into the side of the Achilles tendon here. This is a really nice one if you've ever had any Achilles tendon issues. Might be quite sore. And then I'm going to use my hand just to hold the foot and start to strip the ball along the length. So now I'm sort of following the line of the tissue fibers here, just up and down the side of the lower leg there. Feels really good. Particularly nice one if you are a runner. Great. And then we'll do the same thing on the second side. So just taking the ball just below the bone of the knee, and soft tissue here just behind the tibia, and I'm going to just start to use the hand here to roll the ball back little by little. I'm moving through these techniques sort of fairly quickly. The research suggests it doesn't take very long to have a beneficial effect. Anything between 30 seconds and up to 2 minutes. But of course, if you find that there's a particular sort of troublesome spot, just pause the video, spend a bit longer. And I find the more you do this work, the sort of less awkward, the easier it becomes, and the more adept you get at just sort of moving through the techniques. I'm working my way all the way down, again, towards that outer ankle. And then once you found that again, you can sort of pick the foot up. And I'm just sort of circulating around that bone, outer ankle bone. Not such hard pressure here. You could put your body weight onto it a little bit more. Nuzzle up into any tender spots there. Some kind of fairly fibrous connective tissue around here. And then we use the opposite hand just to pick the foot up so I can more easily strip now along the length of that lower leg. More here, just getting some circulation into these hard-working tissues. All right, now for this next one, we're going to use the foam roller to work into the calves. Now, if you don't have a foam roller, actually, this works quite nicely with a rolled up yoga mat as well. So you could just get a mat, a yoga mat, regular mat, and just roll that up and use this. This next technique is not meant to be really intense. It's meant to just create some hydration and blood flow. So we're going to put the foam roller or the mat roll underneath the lower legs, just below the sort of above the ankles and the lower part of the calf. And I'm keeping my legs really relaxed, and I'm just gonna sort of let my legs sort of very floppily sort of shimmy here across the foam roller. So say it might be quite tender, but it's not got lots and lots of pressure going through it. We're going to do a little bit more trigger point work in a moment. And then just work the foam roller up an inch or two and just continue. So the legs are really relaxed. And I'm sort of keeping the calves in one spot and then just sliding, shearing, if you like, the tissues across. And continue to just work your way up. We'll just do a couple more spots here. For me, this is getting a bit more tender as I come up to the sort of the belly of the calf muscles. And we'll go up one more level, just below the knees on the upper calves here. Great. Now I'm going to do a little bit more trigger point work here for the calves, and you can take the foam roller or your mat out the way. And for this one, I'm going to do both legs at the same time. You could do one at a time, but for time and efficiency, I'm going to do both. So I'm going to use my 2 yoga blocks here and place the balls onto the blocks. And I'm going to work, I'm just going to look for 2 spots today, 2 distinct different spots on the calves. So I'm going to start looking for a spot on the lower calf with each ball. So I'm kind of in that lower area. The kind of the belly of the calf muscles are quite a bit higher up. So I'm sort of in this sort of transition zone where the calf muscle becomes the Achilles, just on that kind of lower third. You don't have to be, super exact with this. You're just looking for something that feels a bit tender that you can kind of relax into. And this is pretty sore, so I quite like just being still here. This can feel really good just to let the weight of the legs receive that compression. You could do a little movement on this if you like, just to enhance the hydration effects. So you can do this one leg at a time if it feels just a bit easier to manage and control. I also really like to do a little bit of movement of the feet, flexing and pointing. You can also do circles. Nice. The added benefit of some ankle mobility. Great. And then let's move the myofascial balls up a little bit higher up. So I'm coming now sort of somewhere in that top, kind of middle to top sort of third of the calf. And I'm just looking for a spot there that I want to just settle into. Beauty of the sort of trigger point work is you don't have to cover all of the muscle. You can pick just 1 or 2 spots and it will have a sort of releasing and relaxing effect pretty much on the whole muscle. Be still. You can find a little bit of movement here. I quite like this sort of cross fibering side to side movement. Deep breath. Don't forget to breathe with these. Very useful area to work for not just sort of knee and ankle and foot mobility, but stability also, but really for people with low back pains can be a very supportive therapeutic addition. Maybe just doing a little bit again of movement through the feet, ankles, circles, pointing and flexing. Nice full bit of mobility there. And then let's just release that. We'll do a similar idea here with the two balls for the calves and come into a kneeling position or a tabletop position. And we're just going to tuck the balls in about maybe an inch or so behind the knee. So I'm not right up in the back of the knee, but just a little bit below that. Both balls kind of tucked in, and then using my hands now just to guide the hips back towards the heels. And this might feel like plenty. You can decide how much pressure you want to put back there. You could do a little sway of your hips from side to side. If that felt appropriate. Obviously, if this is causing any pain in the knees, then skip this technique out. And then we'll move the balls down just slightly, coming down about an inch or so. So I'm right on the middle of the lower leg here. And again, just finding a little movement from side to side. Last thing for the calves, we'll take the two balls and now put them back in their tote bag. And you're going to come to stand once again, and we'll use the balls to support a little bit of a stretch here. So coming up to stand, you'll take the balls just right underneath the ball of one of your feet. And I'm going to just start to bend the knee and move the knee towards the big toe, keeping the heel on the ground and feeling a stretch in the calf. And then back off, move the knee, bend the knee towards the second toe. And back off towards the third toe. Back off, fourth toe. And back off, and then towards the little toe, directing the knee over the little toe, just working into some different angles of the calf. Now just back off, direct the knee right over the center of the foot again. And this might be plenty, or if you want a little bit more, you could step your other leg forwards. And you can play a little bit here with having the back leg straight, which works the calf a little bit differently. Or my personal favorite is to slightly bend the knee. I find this works into the ankle as well. It works into a slightly deeper layer of the calves called the soleus muscle, which is the deeper layer of the calf muscles. Great, and then relax. And we'll do the same thing on the second side. So again, I put the ball of the foot right onto the balls there. And again, I'm going to bend the knee and direct it over the big toe to start, keeping the heel on the ground. Be okay with this being a small movement. Back off, and then over the second toe. And back off, over the third toe. And back off, over the fourth toe. And back off, and then over the little toe, picking the ankle, and then back off. I'm going to bend the knee again, direct the knee just straight over the center of the foot, and then just step the other foot forwards a little bit. Just coming into my deeper calf stretch here. A little balance required if you need to obviously do this at a wall. I would recommend that just for stability. Take another couple of breaths there. And then relax and release. Great. So that is the end of our myofascial routine for the feet, the calves, and the lower legs. I hope that that was helpful and your feet and lower legs feel refreshed, revived, and with good blood flow and circulation. Thanks for following.